We are beginning our session. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. And my name is Arya Prasad. I'm a PhD scholar at the Center for East Asian Studies, uh, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Today, we will be discussing the topic South Korea as a study destination, navigating challenges and embracing opportunities. With the surgence of globalization, higher education space have become a center for witnessing diverse profiles of students. South Korea is also emerging as a study abroad destination for higher studies. At the same time, challenges such as cultural difference, sorry for the disturbance, cultural differences, and limited job opportunities are important issues. In today's session, I hope we will discuss more into these matters. Now, let me introduce our honorary guest speaker, Mr. Kyuseok Kim. Kyuseok Kim is the inaugural Center Director of IES Abroad Seoul, where he mainly focuses on creating collaborations with institutions and supporting study abroad experiences of international students. Prior to this, he worked at UA Corporation Limited as a project manager and as well as held key roles as at State University of New York's campus in Korea. He is also a PhD scholar specializing on global higher education trends. He has published extensively on international student mobility and has participated in various academic forums and conferences discussing the evolving trends in global higher education landscape. In addition to this, Mr. Kim is a Fulbright scholar in the International Education Administrator program. On behalf of KRC, it is my privilege to welcome Mr. Kim, who will share his insights into South Korea's higher education sector and the impact of student mobility. Please join me in welcoming him. Before we begin, I would like to go over through some housekeeping rules. So, the presentation will be followed by a 15-minute question answer session. During this session, you can either raise your hand or ask question directly or type your questions into the chat box if you prefer. Please note that this event is now over to you. Kyuseok.
So can you hear me all? Right. So some of you decided not to turn on your camera, but which is good. Some of you can maybe show your face so that we can have more interactive conversation. Absolutely is not a must. So I have no power to encourage all of you to do that. But I prefer to see your face to see more like vibrance here. All right. Thank you for Arya, right? Arya Prasa. Thank you for the beautiful introduction of myself. I feel like I just became a really great, international scholar in this field, but actually, I'm not quite sure. But I feel very humbled and privileged to be introduced in that particular way. Um, I'm very grateful to be invited to this great conversation, and I was very impressed by the fact that like there are so many people who want to know more about South Korea's. I knew that you already talked about like North Korean refugee like policy or their life in South Korea. So I think that's also very new to me. So I hope that today's like conversation will lead to more like interaction engagement activities between your organization and yourself as an individual and myself. So let me start by sharing my screen. Oh, hold on. Yes, can you see me? Can you see those slides?
Yes.
Okay. let's go ahead. So, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me in today's session, presented by the Korea Research Circle, or KRC. Is that right? Mhm. My name is KS, and I serve as a center director at ISO. I'm also currently advancing my research as a doctoral candidate. I'm not PhD yet, so please kindly correct the introduction provided earlier. So I'm a doctoral candidate at Korea University. Today, we're here to navigate the multifaceted landscape of South Korea as a destination for study abroad. We'll examine both the challenges and the rich opportunities it offers for about 30 or 35 minutes. And absolutely, there will be a Q&A session following my presentation. Our discussion will shed light on how South Korea's education sector has not only adapted to global trends, but also offers unique advantages that distinguish itself as a prime choice for international students, and hopefully Indian students too. I appreciate your presence and engagements. So now let's dive deep into the conversation together. Um, First of all, before we begin, I want to thank the Korea Research Circle for this special invitation. And I'm particularly grateful for that they've created this beautiful poster for me and all participants. My professional academic background was introduced, so I probably don't have to spend much more moments to explain to stay on this slides. So let me make it very brief. My academic foundation was built at Korean University, and my subsequent professional expertise and experience span institutions such as Sungkyunkwan University, SUNY Korea, UA, and IS abroad. Sungkyunkwan University, or SKKU, is renowned for its leadership in advancing South Korea's higher education, and is also famous for being sponsored by Samsung. And I believe the name of Samsung is also pretty big in India. SUNY Korea, on the other hand, represents the SUNY, or the State University in New York's system. And SUNY Korea is the first and the largest U.S. campus in South Korea, accredited by the Ministry of Education. UA stands as a testament to South Korea's private sector innovation, as it has pioneered the country's first digitized college application platform since 1999. And IS Abroad. This organization was founded in 1950 and is one of the most respected and impactful international education organizations globally. Every year, IS Abroad facilitates study abroad experiences for about maybe 12,000, from 10,000 up to maybe 15,000 US college students across its over 30 centers worldwide. And Seoul Center is one of them. As an inaugural center director of IS Seoul, which opened last year, I'm privileged to contribute this esteemed organization's mission. So let's take a look into the current dynamics of South Korean education. What I would like to do today is mainly show some visualized data analytics and add some interesting, exciting, and useful narratives to walk you through the landscape of international education and the globalization of South Korean institutions. So you've got lots to eat on your plate, so please enjoy. So, recent developments within South Korean universities underscore the active and at times contentious debates regarding educational policies and their impact on student communities. For instance, very recently at Dongda Women's University in South Korea, the Students' Council has voiced strong opposition to the proposals advocating a shift toward a co-educational model, which means that they were thinking about accepting male students to female university. Similarly, Songsin Women's University is navigating a parallel discourse as it appears to admit male students into its new International School of Korean Culture and Technology. These instances highlight the broader challenges confronting South Korean education, and they exemplify the complex tension between preserving institutional traditions and undertaking necessary reforms to remain relevant in a rapidly globalizing landscape. While these debates can be approached from multiple perspectives, I think one key driver behind such reforms is the mounting pressure South Korean universities face due to a 16-year tuition freeze, an oversupply of colleges and programs, and a demographic crisis exacerbated by the world's lowest fertility rate. Here, I want to show you some key snapshots of South Korean education. Firstly, the number of institutions has expanded significantly in the last case, reaching over 400 universities and colleges nationwide. I'm not sure how many colleges or universities in India, but compared to the people, the population going to the higher education, this number is pretty big. So it was mainly to match the rapidly increasing demands for higher learning opportunities in the past. But as it is strongly coupled with the demographic change recently, so many people started thinking about, oh, if this number is really needed in this country. The total enrollment across all education levels, or all higher educational levels in South Korea, including bachelor's degree, master's, doctoral degrees, and even postdocs. Now it sees 3 million, and international students make up a substantial and growing proportion. However, we also face some challenges. While the long-standing tuition freeze kept higher education accessible, it has put financial strains on colleges and universities, and necessitating them to be creative in developing some strategies to funding and resource management. Additionally, national initiatives like RISE, it's called Regional Innovation System in Education. These are vital as we strive to balance quality and accessibility and to ensure every region can compete on an international level. Excuse me. This graph presents a compelling visual of the trends in higher education enrollment versus international student numbers in South Korea from 1970 through 2023. Over the last 5 decades, we've witnessed a remarkable trajectory in enrollment figures. Starting from 1970s, where the total population, the total higher education enrollment was just over 200,000. We've seen a steady increase, peaking at approximately 3.6 million by 2017 or 18. And this surge underscores this country's commitment to education development and accessibility on the national scale. Equally impressive is the growth in international student numbers. From a modest figure of around 3,000 or 4,000 in 1990s, the number of international students has risen sharply, reaching over 180,000 in 2023 and even over 200,000 in 2024, according to the Ministry of Education. From a different source, which is Korean Tourism Organization, this graph charts the trajectory of leisure visitors coming to South Korea, specifically for study and training purposes from 1994 to 2023. This data reveals a striking upward trend, as you see, and it reflects a growing interest in South Korea's educational and professional training offerings. Although there was a visible dip around 2020 due to the global pandemic, the numbers show resilience and strong recovery pattern in the subsequent years. Speaking of how the net student flow has changed, this graph illustrates international student mobility to and from South Korea over the past 2 decades. In 2004, the influx of international students was relatively low, but it has been substantial. It has been a substantial increase over the years. And conversely, the outflow of South Korean students has decreased steadily. Now the figure is approximately 123,000. At the bottom, you see the dotted line, and it represents the net flow, shows a positive balance from South Korean perspective, meaning that more international students are coming to South Korea than South Koreans going abroad. This net positive inflow is a strong indicator of South Korea's rising status as a favored global educational destination. Here, you see the map that illustrates the geographical distribution of international students across South Korea in 2024. The darker shading in specific regions, such as Seoul, I hope that you already know that where Seoul is, or the capital city, and its surrounding areas, Gyeonggi province, and those places indicate a higher concentration of those students. And this pattern highlights the centralization of international education in metropolitan areas, where most of our educational resources are located. This pie chart illustrates the distribution of visa held by international students in South Korea as of 2023. The largest group are students on D41 visas for Korean language program, 33%. And next, we have undergraduate students who hold D22 visas, and they make up 32%. Master students comprise 14, while doctor students make up 10%. Smaller yet significant segment include exchange and visiting and the government scholarship students on different visa types. So here you see the bar chart that shows a comprehensive overview of the growth of Eurasian population versus the international student population in South Korea from 2004 to 2023. From 2004, where the international population was just over 750,000 with around 17,000 international students, there has been a consistent and significant increase from the bottom to top on the graph that you're just seeing. By 2023, the international population has more than tripled to over 2.5 million, and the international students counts has grown to approximately 226,500 according to the Ministry of Justice. The ratio of international students to the total international population peaking at around 9% in 2023, it indicates a significant investment in attracting and supporting international students. Let's turn to the graph for a clearer visualization of the growth in international students' numbers in South Korea categorized by visa types. We observe a remarkable upward trajectory in several categories. The most significant increase is seen in the bachelor's degree category, and it demonstrates a robust surge peaking around 2018, before pandemic. The green line at the top indicates certificate programs, which often include Korean language studies, show even more dramatic rise. This spike is good evidence of the global fascination with Korean culture and the desire to engage more deeply with the country, Korea, through language. So, as we explore the landscape of international education in South Korea, I think it is crucial to acknowledge and address the challenges that accompany our current context. This particular segment of my presentation will focus on the obstacles that present us or this country with opportunities to innovate and improve. Well, I believe the most significant challenge that South Korea's higher education or this society faces nowadays is visa overstaying and illegal residence among international students. Two shades blue here represent like different visa types, categories. Light blue is for D2 visas, which are all degree seeking programs, which are for all degree seeking programs. And dark blue is for D4 visas for non degree programs, including Korean language courses. The Ministry of Justice in Korea observes a significant increase in both categories over the years, with a noticeable surge in 2018 and afterwards. In 2023, there were over 35,000 cases of visa overstaying, a record, and is definitely a record high. The majority of these cases are student on D4 visas, which suggests that non degree programs, particularly language courses, are more prone to. Here you see the clear manifestation in the discrepancies in the data on international students recorded by Ministry of Education and Ministry of Justice from 2004 to 2023, the last 2 decades. Over the years, we see fluctuations in these discrepancies, and you see notably the gap has widened significantly in recent years, where the largest discrepancy occurred in 2023, where the MOJ, Ministry of Justice, reported approximately 44,000 more international students than the MOE, Ministry of Education. This suggests potential issues in data collection, reporting timeline and methods, or criteria for counting international students, which can significantly impact policy decisions and resource allocation. It can safely be assumed that those gaps indicate the number of missing or unidentified international students, as MOJ's count is based on the actual visa records, while MOE's figure is based on each school's annual self-reporting. This chart details the discrepancies in the numbers of international students from various countries as reported by the MOJ and MOE in 2023. Countries such as Vietnam and China show the largest gap in student counts, which may indicate specific visa or reporting issues related to these student populations. Some other countries like Uzbekistan, Mongolia, and Japan show similar or even negative discrepancy, which could point to more consistent data handling for these groups. Another challenge is the lack of diversity in terms of countries of origins. This work map visualizes the geographical origin of Eurasian students in South Korea 2023. As we observe, there is a pronounced concentration of students originating from Asia. And you see China is distinctly highlighted, and Vietnam is following China. The closeness, both geographically and culturally, between South Korea and other East Asian countries facilitate a higher mobility of these students seeking quality education abroad in South Korea. This illustrates the evolution of international students' population in South Korea from um, 2000. Excuse me. Yes. So you see that the predominant trends across all user categories is a significant representation of students from Asia, and it highlights its dominance in South Korea's international education landscape. Whether in degree programs, which means from bachelor to doctoral levels, or in shorter certificate courses, for example, Korean language programs, Asian students form the majority. Only exception is short-term exchange and visiting students. In the second row, you see at the bottom, right? D26 and D28. Those are the particular visa types issued for those credit-seeking students for a semester or 2 semesters. Now, this collection of line graphs presents the growth of international students across various regions in South Korea. Each graph represents a specific region, and it clearly illustrates how the numbers have evolved over more than 2 decades from 1999 to 2021. So, as seen in the top left graph, shows the most significant increase starting from maybe from just a few thousand at the starting point to over way over 60,000 at the ending data point. This regional analysis is crucial for understanding the dynamics of educational migration within South Korea. Moreover, it highlights the challenges of regional disparity in attracting international students. So now we have some like major key takeaways in this challenges part. First, we observe significant regional disparities in the distribution of international students, and we usually call it unipolarization, which means like major cities like Seoul has recruited most of its students, international students, and it has led to needs for strategic policies that promote educational development in other regions. Secondly, the necessity for quality assurance in education is evident. In South Korea, there is a particular quality assurance framework, which is called IEQAS, International Education Quality Assurance System. And even if like South Korean government has tried to reform its framework every 4 or 5 years, it's really hard to keep up with the fast changing trends. And now, like many English students are kind of um, those are kind of slipping through the cracks, so that they just disappeared from the educational institutions and classes, or even the supervision of the supervisors, so that they're just gone to somewhere else. So it's really hard to uh, provide like safe and healthy and secure education opportunities to those students, because we don't really know where those students are. Third, as I just mentioned earlier, the issue of illegal residency and visa overstaying. This is a pretty big issue here too, and it's definitely a challenge that requires robust regulatory measures and effective administration to ensure compliance with visa regulation and to safeguard the integrity of education institutions. Lastly, the concentration of a few countries of origin points to a lack of diversity in the international student body. While Asian students dominate the demographics, there is a potential to diversify by attracting students from a broader range of countries. So, as now we turn to our attention towards the opportunity that arise from the trends and the challenges we discussed, it's clear that South Korea stands on the horizon of transformative potential in international education. First and foremost, continued ascent of Korean culture worldwide provides a unique opportunity for South Korea's educational institutions. I believe by integrating aspects of Korean culture into their curricula or campus experiences or program design and management, universities can enhance their attractiveness to prospective international students who are excited about the cultural offerings in South Korea. This graph here not only demonstrates South Korea's increasing pulling force as a hub for tourism and commerce, but also underscores its rising status as an educational and cultural destination. Obviously, K-Wave has fueled these growing numbers, and this particular set of data is essential for understanding how South Korea can further tailor its policies and initiatives to enhance its attractiveness and cater to different needs of international students and visitors. Another opportunity can be found in saturation or undiscovered, uncharted regions. This graph provides a comprehensive view of the increasing trends of international students from 10 countries, including Pakistan, Pakistan, and Kazakhstan, enrolling in South Korean colleges and universities from 2004 to 2023. We observe a significant and steady increase in students from these countries over the last 2 decades. You see, starting from the modern level of, for example, like 200 or 300 in 2004, the number have grown exponentially, reaching nearly 14,000 by 2023. Its growth is obviously not notable in Uzbekistan, which has been the highest increase among this group. This pair of map is particularly interesting, as it shows the regional growth and percentage change in the number of international students across South Korea from 2002 to 2024, 3 years. The first map on the left-hand side highlights the absolute growth in international student numbers. You see the darker shades of blue indicates the regions with the highest increase in student numbers, notably Gyeonggi area and somewhat um, in the Seoul metropolitan area. Those are places that have been the most substantial inflow. On the right-hand side, you see second map, and it shows the percentage change, not absolute number change, but percentage change in international student numbers by region. Here you see some regions, despite like smaller population, show significant relative growth. And I think that it suggests expanding education opportunities beyond the traditional urban locations. The second last point is the post-pandemic recovery. This graph presents a compelling narrative of resilience and recovery in the enrollment of international students in South Korea by mobility types. What stands out most strikingly is the robust rebound in the number of post-pandemic, especially among those pursuing degrees. From 2020 to 2021, we observe a deep across all categories of mobility. We're all aware that it mirrors the global disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the subsequent recovery has been nothing short of remarkable. So, degree-seeking students, represented by the blue line here, show a steep rise, climbing from the low point in 2020 to exceed pre-pandemic levels significantly by 2023. Specifically, our bachelor's program have experienced steady growth, indicating a consistent attraction to undergraduate offerings. Master's program have seen a significant surge, doctoral programs, while growing more moderately. Um, these, high, these highlight this country's improving status as a powerhouse of knowledge creation and probably innovation. Additionally, non-degree programs, including language and cultural studies, demonstrate varied but overall upward trends. Obviously, it reflects a broader interest in South Korea's diverse educational opportunities. Lastly, I want to introduce the growing awareness of DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion in South Korean higher education. Here, I brought two web pages, the Diversity Councils of Seoul National University and Korean University. Both emphasize their mission not only to respect, but actively promote diversity, equity, and inclusion among students, faculty, and staff. This commitment is rooted in the belief that diversity, or DEI, is essential for the intellectual and cultural prosperity of the university community and, by extension, society at large. These initiatives are the broader trends in South Korean education to address regional and international challenges through progressive education policies. By integrating diverse perspectives and experiences, colleges and universities aim to enhance their global standing and create more dynamic and interconnected academic community. So to recap, South Korea's international student strategy is multifaceted, leveraging its cultural soft power, notably K culture, to attract a global student body. This cultural influence is instrumental in not just attracting students, but also in broadening scope of recruitment territories, opening up new regions for engagement. Recognizing the need for a diverse academic community, there's strong emphasis on values of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. These principles could potentially be embedded in academic policies, but also mirrored in regional government initiatives which align with these values to ensure a supportive education environment for all students. Furthermore, the country's image as a high-tech and safe destination, especially in the post-pandemic period, enhances its appeal and eventually positioning South Korea as an attractive location for international education. So these strategic elements combine to strengthen South Korea's educational offerings and global standing. In summary, South Korea's international education landscape has experienced significant transformations, characterized by rising student mobility, increasing regional diversity, and a robust recovery following the pandemic. These key trends include dominance of Asian students across all visa types and expanding appeal of South Korea as one of the highly sought after study abroad destinations. South Korea's commitment to advancing its higher education system is evident through significant reforms focused on diversification, internationalization, and at the same time, regionalization. As I was invited by the research committee in India, I would like to wrap up today's discussion by showing the students' mobility pattern between South Korea and India. According to the Ministry of Education in South Korea, there was a significant number of students from South Korea going to India about maybe 15 years ago, maybe over 1,000. However, this trend has seen a decline since then. marking reduced outward mobility from South Korea to India, unfortunately. In contrast, the influx of students from India to South Korea has shown a remarkable upward trajectory, starting from the modest number at around a few hundred 15 years ago. There's been a consistent increase in the number of Indian students choosing South Korea for their studies. And obviously, many of them enroll in advanced program like master's, doctoral, or even postdoctoral programs. So thinking forward, let's try to think forward, like collectively together. So what are the opportunities and what are some possibilities in the future? So I think it's really important to foster a robust educational and scholarly exchange between South Korea and the other regions, including India, particularly in the context of India's transformative national education policy 2022. I believe some of you have pretty solid knowledge about what this innovative policy is. Additionally, it highlights the potential for South Korea to establish a stronger presence in India through some like ambitious initiatives such as opening a branch campus. I believe it would not only deepen bilateral ties but also expand South Korea's influence in a key global education hub. Right? This is the end of my presentation, and as some of you already know, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I really like, and I really enjoy putting my thoughts on this particular platform. So please feel free to make more connections and have more conversation on this platform, or you can follow me, or you can just email to ask some questions after today's discussion here.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yes. Uh, Thank you so much, Mr. Kim, for such an informative and the thorough assessment of South Korea's higher education sector. It was indeed a learning session for me, and I hope our participants also feel the same. So now we are opening the session for the question answers. Yes, so uh, us taking the privilege of as a moderator, I would like to ask the first question. So, uh, what do what do you think about the scholarships and fellowship role in attracting international students, especially from Asian countries? Like we can see that majority of the students are coming from Asian countries uh, to Korea. So yeah. So what is your opinion?
Oh, sorry about that. Actually, I just, clicked the wrong button. So I just got out this chat and I just rejoined. Could you repeat your question again?
Yes. How do scholarships and fellowships play a key role in attracting international students?
Yeah, that's a really good question for any international students who want to study in South Korea. Since early 2000s, South Korea started a very ambitious national project to globalize South Korea's higher education system by starting giving out a pretty substantial amount of scholarship to international students and scholars. So in the um, we had a lower number of international students. It was pretty powerful to rely on that particular scheme to attract more international students. But for now, to be honest, in order to increase the number of international students, I think the effectiveness of scholarship can be not as strong as what we had in the past because our number has rapidly increased for the last 20 years. So currently, I believe the South Korean government is trying to use the scholarship and fellowship to attract students from underrepresented the represented regions. For example, India, because we don't have many Indians too in South Korea. And for example, from Latin America or Africa, so we have so many Asian students. So the motivation to give like scholarship and fellowship to the students from those countries is less than our countries needs to provide the same opportunities to the students from those underrepresented countries. So if I were a policymaker, I would do that to diversify the country of origins. But and one of the things, the challenges that I would like to mention about that scholarship is that South Korea, as you saw in my earlier screen, South Korea's student has been financially crunched due to the long-standing overseas tuition fees. So we are significantly under-resourced to provide more and more growing amount of scholarships. So probably that's one thing that this country, policymakers and universities need to think about in attracting more motivated, quality, and brilliant students from India or from the other parts of the world.
Thank you. Now, I would like to Richard.
Hi, Mr. Kim. I'm Rachit Goyal. Thank you so much for such an insightful presentation. I think we did talk over LinkedIn a couple of days back. I hope to see you soon.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm currently studying as a doctoral exchange student at SNU, and from my experience when I interacted with many students here, international students here, I would like to ask some questions. How important do you think is language barrier in internationalization of South Korea, South Korean higher education? Because when we see one side, South Korea's is trying to internationalize higher education. More and more international students are coming. However, many majors are not in English. In fact, the very less number of subjects are taught in English. I don't know about many other university, but especially in Seoul University, like there are very, and then I communicated with other international students, and they shared that when they come as exchange students or even if they cannot pursue their courses that much well because they their major is not taught here. So also I think, and do you think, the second question, do you think this is the reason why students from Western countries are not coming to Korea as much as the Asian countries? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful question. And I'm happy that I can share my opinions that issue. You get me. Well, I think you just made a really good point about probably one of the biggest challenges that many South Korean universities have in attracting many more and more English speaking students from different parts of the world. No matter how we accept it now, English is a lingua franca and is one of the most powerful language in the world, especially in academia. So many South Korean institutions have tried so hard to increase their English taught programs. We call it like ETP or EMI courses. As you probably know, the acronym, right? English Immediate Instruction. So when I first started at my career at Samgyongwon University in 2010, it was a very critical moment when so many elite Korean universities started expanding the number of English taught programs or courses. But because back then the drive was so strong, the problem was the faculty, researchers were not ready to accept that policy change. So even if the university, the administration, for example, president or the leadership strongly want the university's courses taught in English, and many faculty hold like UK or US PhD degrees. They were not ready, and some of them thought that it's too fast, or even it is unreasonable to teach their programs in English in South Korean higher education context. So there have been so many like controversies over that issue, to be honest, for the last 20 years, 25 years. So it's pretty big one. And still South Korea didn't find um, the proper solution because um, so many faculty have struggled for the last 15 years at least. They probably don't want to teach their courses in English anymore. So, and probably that's pretty comfortable for some like new faculty who just finished their PhD, maybe in English speaking countries, or maybe some of them has some like foreign experience in their youth years, whatever. But it's obviously very um, uncomfortable for some, for a significant number of people to do their educational and academic activities in English, which is obviously not a mother tongue of Korean. So getting back to your point, I also think that in order to increase the number of English students, I think providing more and more English taught programs or courses could be useful. But what about the students from East Asian countries who do not have the same expectation? They want to be educated in Korean language because they're here to learn Korean. Then what if we just provide, what if just, conveniently assume that they also want English mediated courses or programs? And then those students who initially wanted to be educated in Korean language were suddenly exposed to English taught environment. So that's totally ridiculous, right? So it's very complicated. So that's why, but these days, some Korean or like well-resourced Korean colleges and universities started designing English taught program, which is different from English mediated courses. Because in that particular program, students can start with English language course, and then they finish all of their courses without being stressed out about learning Korean language. So it's kind of a new strategy emerging these days, but we'll see. We cannot be sure about if that's gonna really work in this Korean context, or it can just finish with as a kind of ambitious experiment. We'll never know. Alright. So the thing is that learning or teaching or doing research in non-speaker country like Korea is very, very um, difficult problem or situation to handle. And it's very unlike in where so many students, so many people have a fairly decent command of English language.
Yes. Thank you. We have a question in chat box. So it's from Kyung Min Bae. Many Korean universities are inevitably reforming. The size and provisional universities are merged into due to the declining national population and projecting to accept more foreign students in the future. Aside from right sides of studying in Korea discussed earlier, what could be the very potentials or necessary strategies in the future?
Yep. So one of the biggest problems that South Korean education has right now is, excuse me. is in the instrumentalization of Jewish students. I'm not sure if it is easily understandable, that term, new vocabulary. So many is Kyungmin Bae pointed out, many South Korean universities in the region, uh, which are financially crunched and not well resourced and heavily impacted by the demographic shift. They want to use British students recruitment as an instrument to in their institutions. And it's never on new phenomena, right? So, for example, in the UK or in some parts in the US, they on the one hand they view those students as a people or group of people to educate for like a future talents or for future our society. On the other hand, they view them as a source of like a revenue, right? Profit to make their institution financially accountable and sustainable. And that's the reality. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's all education is um has to be sustainable to have enough number of students and resources. But the problem is that as we recruit more and more university students, not closely paying attention to the quality or their chance of staying in the classroom for education and learning experience rather than making money out of the class. So the many parts in South Korea started experiencing some sort of side effects of that aggressive recruiting campaigns and activities. And there was a very like pathetic news report about a couple of maybe South Korean universities in the region. I don't know where they are, but they just started providing a English taught 1 year master program, but their target is not English speaking population, but Chinese or Vietnamese students just come and sit in the classroom, pay tuition, and they just use like AI translation in the class to um, provide knowledge in the class. And it's more like not an authentic or value oriented education practice. It's more like kind of the degree meal, right? To provide the degrees to students who want like quick like process of getting masters or whatever credential it is. So that's really big problem. So um well in order to that keep I think so these days in order to prevent that undesired or improper situation any for example one thing I can tell you is that Ministry of Justice is trying to like tightening up their regulation, their policy to keep those numbers down. And also the regional government is now started collaborating closely with colleges and university in the region to make more like a reliable and ethical kind of education environment so that international students coming to South Korea can be controlled in terms of quality and also or their motivation. And secondly, they also want to provide more like job opportunities after graduation, so that they don't really have to think about like losing their kind of visa status after graduation, so that they can safely settle in this South Korean society after getting their bachelor, master's, or doctoral degree.
Thank you. Aishwarya, do you want to ask question?
Hi, Good evening. I had a question. Before that, I'm really thankful that you gave an insightful presentation. It was really helpful. My name is Aishwarya, and I'm currently doing my PhD in Korean film studies, specifically focusing on the movies of Kim Ki-duk, who is a director. I've just been recently exposed to the area of Korean studies, so I think it would probably be just about maybe 1 or 2 years. So I just wanted to ask you that what are the scopes of humanities like? Are there do we have a lot of scope for scholarships when it comes to humanities, the field of humanities in Korea?
Well, in terms of the availability of like financial resources for students who want to pursue humanities studies, I'm not quite sure, to be honest. So we are trying to give out more scholarship opportunities to STEM field students, and that's the reality. So as long as those students are actually, we have very good scholarship program called Global Korea Scholarship (GKS). So I believe there are some different categories where those students in like different disciplines can apply, and probably they would have some um, standards or criteria by which they actually select the students. So I don't have exact information how that scholarship like program works, but generally speaking, the opportunities given to those humanities disciplines would would not likely to be same as the opportunities given to like STEM fields, because there in South Korean education, I believe that's pretty common and also true for the other uh, advanced higher education system. We national policy or university policy is to invest more in technology driven areas, for example, AI or data analytics or software engineering, semiconductor, right? And as South Korea is also very technology driven, and we are also very at the forefront of those technical innovations, I believe South Korean policymakers and the government would like to provide more opportunities to the students who are potentially interested in that technology and field rather than humanities. That's my current assumption.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
In this question, class question has asked by Ajay Kumar. Here's 안녕하세요, 교수님. Apart from language proficiency, what additional skills or qualities do Korean companies prioritize when hiring international candidates, especially Indian students? Are there any specific technical or soft skills they value?
Mhm. I think that's first of all, I'm not 교수님, so so please correct me politely. Um, well, mm, I'm not quite sure I'm qualified to answer this question on behalf of South Korean employers, but just based on my personal observation, I think what Korean companies prioritize is how each international student can play an important role in developing something, developing business or ideas, um, specifically for the country from which the students actually came to Korea. For example, if I were an employer in one of the Korean companies, I would rather find Indian students who can do make the real things and progress in the context of the collaboration with Indian market rather than just the Indian students or graduates living in South Korea. So I think as an international student, in order to be in employed by Korean companies, especially if they are global companies, And I think it's really important to stay um, connected with your home country to provide like useful insights about how Indian market works and what is, what's happening in India and how the political and social policy moves are in India right now. So I think in that particular context, Indian students can be instrumental and useful by bridging Korea and India so that South Korean companies can think about developing new business or starting a new business or finding a new partner um, in Indian market. I think that's really important. And plus, for example, I think generally, I'm not sure if it is also true in Indian workplace culture, but in South Korea, generally, if it is like homegrown, organic kind of company or organization, they tend to be quite conservative and hierarchical. I'm not sure if it's pretty subjective, right? So we can't really say which company is hierarchical and which is not, with like absolute like standard or criteria. But generally, they want something kind of, mhm, more hierarchical, kind of top down thing. So maybe if anyone you can feel like comfortable with like supporting their boss, rather than perceiving them as just one of the colleagues. I think that's sort of the attitude, like a new mindset, and and those like attitudes and mindset are traditionally like based on like Confucius ideology. Even if these days, like South Korean society is also very rapidly changing, so it's pretty old ideology. But still, in order to get employed by Korean company and probably like hiring managers, those are pretty like senior people. So I think it's really, I don't think you have to completely understand and be a part of it, but at least you need to try to be aware of what that Korean specific cultural workplace culture is. I think that's really important.
Thank you. With this question, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you all for participating and your engaging questions. And I would like to especially extend a special thank you to Mr. Kim for sharing his insights. Yeah, this concludes.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate all of your enthusiasm and interest in learning something more about South Korea. So let's stay in touch. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.